the first thing that is required in order for you to solve an issue, to bring about the proper examination of something, is awareness, right? In order for you to find the enemy, you have to see the enemy. You can't fight monsters and terrifying things in the dark. You need some light so that you can see them. That level of awareness is quite the required first step before you can even do any sort of a thing with solving or elevating or fighting anything that is of terror to you. And awareness requires you to pay attention as well. However, I feel like we have lost touch with paying attention to ourselves. We are so outer directed these days. We have lost touch with our own awareness or internal awareness. We don't do self-introspection so much. One of my peculiar questions I ask people is, how often do you do self-introspection? And people just, yeah, sometimes, what. Some of them, they don't even know at all. I'm even thinking of when I want to take on my sixth wife. My sixth wife, I should, on our first date, I should ask them if they know what introspection is and if they do introspection to begin with. Because people who are not self-aware, they are quite easy to manipulate. They are quite easy to be swayed by the public opinion and all kinds of things like that, because they are not even aware of their own leverages and their own battles. And that is a very dangerous situation for a person to be at. And truly speaking, in order for you to succeed as well in any role, you have to be self-aware, to be aware of your limitations, to be aware of your strengths, to be aware of the level of control you have over your mind. You have to be aware of yourself, and that can only happen if you're paying attention to yourself. Not so long ago, I started recognizing that, you know what, actually I have better control over my mind right now. It's a wonderful thing. I could see when I'm deflecting off the rails of what I want to do. Like yesterday, for example, I was rage baited to watch some YouTube video, and it is this identity politics stuff, and I could see myself being swallowed into that kind of stuff. But because I'm paying attention to myself, and the strength of my attention to my internal being, my introspection, is very high now, I could see myself swaying off of work into being pulled into that political world. And I was like, no, I have to now heal up my algorithm so that it can remove the rest of these rage bait videos and give me the proper business minded videos, so that my spirit, my mind doesn't get disturbed, and I can refocus and recalibrate into doing my work as I intended to. So today we don't actually have time to self-introspect, because we have scrolling, we have people to attend to, we have work and all kinds of things like that. But if you can recognize, I usually am not actually on social media or interacting with pretty much nobody after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock going upwards until the next morning. Funny story is that thing is actually a serendipity on my part. It was a blessing in disguise, because at first it happened because I did not have data to continue the conversations after work. Where I work and where I stay, they use different tokenizations of Wi-Fi. So I buy the work ones, and then I didn't have the ones for at the house. And by the time I started having enough to be able to actually to have the Wi-Fi here at home and at work, I didn't want it. I didn't want it because the peace that have come to me as a consequence of that was more valuable. And it was a consequence of being forced to now deal with myself. It was I fell into a quasi-meditative time, and that forced me to actually examine myself. Examine, okay, this, I was bullshitting myself, this is the right direction I should go, and all kinds of things like that. So since then, I've given myself that leverage of, you know what, I don't want to interact with the outside world. I'll give it time, and then when that time passes, I now give myself some time to deal with myself, or to be with myself, to do that self-introspection and pay attention to myself, so that I can calibrate all the things that are me, your spirit, your mind, your health, all kinds of things like that, so that you can listen to yourself without the disturbance of the outside world. Because once you don't pay attention to yourself, the outside world then detects where your mind goes, your spirit goes, and all kinds of things like that. Because you don't have control over your mind, your brain, your life essentially is outer directed. Your opinions are outer directed. They are in the public space. You don't have original ideas, you don't have original opinions. You are swayed by the waves of outside. You are rage baited, you are pulled into arguments, you are pushed into places that you never intended to, and they are not beneficial to you. You are out here discussing the economy of America when you are a South African. It has nothing to do with you. So that self-awareness and attention to oneself is very key for a person to be able to press their own buttons how they want them. And that's the only way you're gonna succeed. Unless if you have someone outside there who has a good intention for you and is gonna out push you in the correct direction. But then how many of us have ever had someone like that who's there with us 2 years of our life pushing us in the direction that is correct for us without us having to participate much to it? Less likely that happens. The more you grow, the more of your success depends on you. And if that's going to be the case, you have to be aware of how you function, what you need, what are your needs. You know what, when I eat eggs, I get clarity. You know what, when I eat fatty stuff, I get mental dust. You know, when I listen to political commentary, I get rattled up, and my spirit that whole entire day is messed up. When I listen to business, I feel encouraged and I feel like working even more, and that empowers me. You know, these things you can only do really if you are paying attention to yourself. And also, you are able to catch when you are bullshitting yourself, you are lying to yourself, you are going in the wrong direction by yourself. And the thing that I mentioned yesterday, when people lie to themselves, they are not even aware because they just put it under rocks, and then their life goes left. Okay, left is that way actually. Their life goes left, and gets messed up, and they can't detect what happened. But then if you are paying attention to yourself, you can tell when you are bullshitting yourself, and then you're like, okay, wait, hold on. That was nonsensical. A while back, when I started journaling my productivity, there was an hour or two that I spent just watching YouTube, you know. And when my alarm rang for me to go journal, I wanted to write. I don't know what I was doing for that time, but I knew what I did. I knew exactly what I did, and I was wasting time watching nonsensical videos that meant nothing to my path of life at all. And I had to, I caught myself in that process. I was like, no, scratch that. It isn't that I don't know what I did. I know very well. I bullshitted myself. Useless videos. That's what I did. And since then, I've been able to circumvent that. I've been able to fight against me losing time into useless videos or rage bait or thirst traps, all kinds of things like that. Now when I want to listen to political commentary, I put it as a background and I work. So in that particular way, I kill two birds with one stone. I'm out here being able to be productive and hear these political things that sometimes I feel like that's just listening to it, you know. And then when I see that no, now I'm getting too invested in that political world that is meaningless oftentimes, I pull out. I pull out very quickly, because sometimes that can affect your energy source to be invested in your work. Now you're just riled up, you're starting to think about, when, let's say you're listening to these damn feminists, and then you start getting riled up and you're like, I remember this other bitch that I was with, stupid, and then now you're messed up. Your mental capacity now is used in the wrong direction. But then if you are aware of yourself and you're paying attention, okay, you know what, my spirit is getting riled up right now and I can't afford to lose that right now. I have time only for this particular project. You yank yourself out of that. And you're like, let's rerun this. Let's go check Alex Vamusi. Let's go. Productivity hacks. So the best way to deal with, to actually give yourself a leverage of being able to see or be aware of yourself, is to give yourself time to do self-introspection. Mine are two. One is the fact that I cut off the external world by the time I finish my work. Secondly, I take walks. If I'm not exercising that morning, I'm taking walks early in the morning, so that the outside world is not filled with cars and people and school kids and all kinds of things like that. It's just me and a couple of workers, and then I can focus truly on what is it that I'm thinking. So those are the two best ways I have been able to use right now, and that has helped me be able to have that pool of control over my head. Now when I want to do something, I can do that thing because my head has practiced over time. That self-introspection is a practice. You're like, like it, that's boring. Yes, boredom is a challenge of thinkers. When you are the athletes and what, exhaustion is the challenge of athletes. Boredom is the challenge of thinkers. So self-introspection is all about that thinking, that communication internally. And it's gonna be boring, but then with time, you're gonna end up finding that it's very useful, and it will start not being boring. You start having very interesting conversations with yourself that will be also fuel you and your spirit into higher places. But you need to stick long enough then. From 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock the following morning is a long time. And I am able to just sit there with myself and not engage nobody or anything and be fine. And also that reduces the need for other people. As I said before, the company of others is very expensive. So if you are unable to sit with yourself, you better pay. You better be ready to pay for the company of others. But once your self-introspection is awesome, the company of others is a luxury. It's no more a need. And therefore, the reverse happens. Now you get to pay you, or you get to be paid to be with other people. Anywho, as is always the case, God gave you permission to be here. Make it good, make it better.